Disruptive Technology Impact, a view of area readiness evaluation by Solitaire Interglobal, where expert services plus chaos mathematics equals predictive performance modeling. Solitaire Interglobal Limited, or SIL, is an expert service provider that maintains a massive and ever-growing 160 plus petabyte heuristic database of real-world customer production data. Solitaire has conducted over 31,000 new technology impact assessments in the last 3 years, and for those projects and implementations, clients have reported savings of more than $2.04 billion in that same time period. Solitaire was established in 1978 and maintains its world headquarters in Elgin, Illinois in the U.S. Solitaire is involved with the establishment of industrial standards and performance certifications for multiple decades now, and conducts active information gathering for the Operational Characterization Master Study, or OPMS. It runs over 200,000 models annually in support of both ongoing subscription customers and ad hoc inquiries. One of the areas that Solitaire focuses a lot on is the whole issue of disruptive technologies and the effect on business. Disruptive technology can be defined as an innovation that creates a new market and value network and that eventually disrupts existing markets and value networks. There are many facets of an organization that can be disrupted. You can have disruption in your organizational structures, your business methods, workflow, revenue patterns, products, staffing, cost compositions, and security. And being left behind during a disruptive wave can be expensive at best and ultimately can cause an organization to become non-viable. The ARI suite, which is a trademark product group by Solitaire, addresses these needs. And those basic needs are understanding of the technology impact on an organization and the need to address strategic positioning and preparation. The third piece to this is you have to be able to quantify critical success and failure factors. All of those are needed if your organization wants to catch the wave for that disruptive technology. Currently in our market, we see that there are 6 main disruptive technologies. Those are analytics, biometrics, big data analytics, cloud, mobile, and social media. Let's talk a little bit about each of them. In all of the ARE analyses that Solitaire does, there's some common sections. All of them clarify the technology area, including the different aspects. For cloud, you would look at information as a service versus software as a service, and so on. Each of those disruptive technologies has a technology area that needs definition and identification. All ARE analyses also include an organizational review that identifies the 4-quadrant positioning. The 4 quadrants are strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and challenges, and they're all equally important when looking at how an organization is positioned. The third thing that is common is they're always critical factors. These are critical factors both for success and critical factors that are present in failures. If you only know the success ones, you may end up executing one of the failure ones and degrade the ability of your organization to move into the new technology. All of the ARE analyses also have summary of findings and an extensive list of actionable next steps. Solitaire doesn't do fluff. We do real stuff. Let's look at the first one, which is the ARE for analytics. Okay, analytics is a practice of using data to discover and convey meaningful patterns. In an ARE analytics analysis, the focus is on governance and provisioning. Both of those are important when we're looking at the ability and the implementation of the results of an analytics process. We also need to map out the organizational critical thinking process, because analytics does not become useful within an organization unless it has a method for attaching to how the organization makes decisions. And we have learned through thousands of projects that expectation setting is absolutely essential. For analytics, you have to understand the cost-benefit picture, what all the composition is for both cost side and benefit side. You have to have a reasonable ramp-up timeline and expectation of results on that. And you have to clarify the organization's definition of success. How do you know that it's successful if you've never defined what successful means to all of you? If we look next at big data analytics, which is different than analytics, we see that we have some similar issues, some similar outputs from the process. So in the ARE analysis for big data analytics, we need to make sure that the organization understands the differences between BDA and general analytics. BDA incorporates structured and unstructured data, which is a main difference. Also, BDA can include both inward-facing data and outward-focused data. In BDA ARE analyses, we also focus on governance and provisioning. In this case, governance becomes significantly critical. Okay, we also map out how the critical thinking will incorporate BDA, because this is not as intuitive or even as possible sometimes as the incorporation with straight analytics. And once again, we have to make sure that their expectation setting is performed and agreed to, because you need to see the cost-benefit picture, and that cost and the benefits are significantly different than straight analytics. You have to look up ramp-up times and reasonability, and again, they're significantly different. And then you have to have a reasonable organizational definition of success. Notice this one's slightly different than the last one, because with BDA, reasonable becomes the mantra. We find too many organizations that don't really understand that you have to be reasonable about what you're expecting out of a big data exploration. Moving on to the third ARE suite component, we're looking at biometrics. Now, biometrics refers to the integration of physical human aspects with technology. In this case, the focus is on security and integration. In order to focus on that, we have to map out the interface points within the organization where human bodies interact with the IT processes and the business processes. Again, we have expectation settings. We have to identify what is success, so you have something to measure against. And this is significantly different than anything we've talked about before. We also have to look at the applicability. It makes no sense whatsoever to try to put biometrics into an organization's process and procedures if it's not really doing anything useful. And we need to have an understanding and expectations of the complex supporting technology that's required in order to integrate biometrics within your organization. The fourth area is the ARE cloud computing area. With cloud, where your server is and where your workforce is located are somewhat irrelevant. In this area, we focus on cloud form and control. Both of those are essential for organizational viability and for effective implementation. We map out data and application control and define suitability process evaluations and a metric for deciding suitability. Because not everything is suitable for deployment in the cloud for a variety of reasons, whether they be security or the form auditability. There are many reasons where something might not be suitable. And again, we have to set expectations. We have to look at what an organization thinks is successful cloud deployment, and it varies widely from organization to organization. We have to go over the cost-benefit picture, and cost-benefit in cloud calls for a different type of aggregation of costs, a different calculation of results than you have in a more physically contained location. And we have to look at implementation timelines and the reasonability of those, because implementation timelines in the cloud vary from very, very quick to very drawn out and laborious because of testing and failover and security. The next area of ARE analyses is mobile computing. Now, mobile computing is the ability to use organizational IT assets from variable locations, whether it's a salesman driving around, or somebody on a train, or anybody that's moving. In this case, we're focusing on security and access options. How do you get to the IT assets? How can you protect them while somebody's using their iPad sitting on an Amtrak train traveling across country? I mean, these are a different set of requirements, a different set of vulnerabilities when it comes to security. So for mobile computing, security becomes one of the main issues. For the mapping component of this ARE analyses, we map out the processing landscape that's accessible. Not all of your processing is going to be available from a mobile perspective, and it shouldn't be. But the ones that are available, you then have to prioritize. The expectation setting is again essential. I mean, once again, we're looking at organizational definition of success. And this is different for mobile than it is for anything else. We'll look at cost benefit picture, and these are, again, things that you're not used to looking at as contributions to your costs. They tend to be more soft costs than hard costs, and many organizations don't know how to incorporate soft costs into their calculations. And we look extensively at how are you going to control security, how are you going to review it, what is your overwatch, what is your governance, what's your mandatory structure, what's your optional structure, and how do you know when your security has been breached. The last area that we're going to talk about today is the ARE analyses for social media. Social media is a buzzword right now, and no one argues that it is both powerful and valuable. Effectively, social media as a disruptive technology is the incorporation of social media into the marketing and positioning of an organization. In this case, we need to focus on governance, tracking, and provisioning. This tends to go a little bit against what people think of social media because the view of social media is it's this wonderful viral and organic process that the idea of having control and overwatch over it sort of is a non sequitur. I mean, people don't understand why you would think of that. But it becomes extremely important because social media, because of its very contagion nature, has to be something your organization can stand behind. Okay, so what we're looking at here is we'll focus on that governance, tracking, and provisioning, and make sure that organizations understand the components of it and why they're important. We'll map out the organizational match to specific social media channels because not everybody fits every social media channel. And then we'll look at the expectation setting. Okay, you have to look at organizational definition of success. How do you know if your social media integration is successful? You have to look at who within your organization will be participating on behalf of the organization. And what is their scope of involvement? Are they subject matter experts who are supposed to be posting content? Or are they people that are creating buzz? You know, what is the role and how much of their time is there? Also, we need to look at cost benefit. Costs are easy to account for. You know how much you're paying the people who are doing the social media activities. But How do you identify what benefit you get out of there? How do you track what comes from social media? And you have to also look at what are your expectations for speed, because there are speed requirements for effective implementation of social media. Also, once you start social media, you don't get a choice about getting off that train. There are some key advantages to having Solitaire help you with an ARE suite analysis. First of all, there's minimal drag on your organizational time. For most of Solitaire's projects, there's less than 10 hours total of required time from your personnel. We only do fixed bid. You always know how much something is going to cost before you ever start. We have an extremely short turnaround, faster than anyone in the industry. And you get a list of actionable items, an extensive list of real things to do, decisions to make, and understandings of what you have to do next. All of this is built on a broad base of experiential backup because we have extensive previous project experience, and every project that we do, we track both success, failures, shortfalls, overages, etc. for an extended period of time. We still have the first customer that we got in 1978, and we're still tracking the first model we did for them that many years ago. We have a huge amount of real-world data, so our analyses and risk profiles and security profiles and so on are built from real actions, real actuarial type data, not estimates, not benchmarks, not guesses, not wishes. I hope this has provided a very short overview for you and has been meaningful about not only what Solitaire has for the ARE suite, but also what you're looking at when you're looking at disruptive technologies in the world today. If you're interested in more information from Solitaire, or would just like to chat about some of the things that were raised in this talk today, please feel free to drop us a note or give us a call. Thank you very much.